Welcome back to Pole Pulse USA. We're diving into a Turning Point USA event where JD Vance faces one of the toughest questions a conservative can get from a liberal audience member about Israel, religion, and U.S. foreign aid. Now, this wasn't some softball moment. This was real tension. A conservative crowd, a bold question about America's loyalty to Israel, and JD Vance, the vice president, trying to navigate the political minefield with his trademark America First cool. We're gonna break this down point by point, expose the contradictions, highlight where JD nails it, and call out where others try to twist his words. Let's jump in.
I'm a Christian man, and I'm just confused why that there's this notion that we might have owe Israel something, or that they're our greatest ally, or that we have to support this multi-hundred-billion-dollar foreign aid package to Israel to cover this, to quote Charlie Kirk, ethnic cleansing in Gaza.
This is where the conversation hits raw nerves. Because what he's saying out loud, what many Americans are thinking, is that support for Israel isn't sacred anymore. For decades, questioning it was taboo. But now, even young conservatives are pushing back. That's a massive cultural shift, and JD Vance knows it.
I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so
Vice President JD Vance took some pretty tough questions at a Turning Point USA event. And those tough questions, Jake, I would argue, confirm what Charlie Kirk was warning about ahead of his assassination, that young conservatives have moved away from Israel.
Indeed, I think there's three topics to look out for here as JD Vance answers the question. One is about religion, the other one is about the ethnic cleansing and the genocide that's going on, and the third is about the money. So let's listen to what he says about that and come back and challenge it. Anna.
Yeah, so just to give you a preview, the audience members asked about whether the US owes anything to Israel, why the United States is supporting an ethnic cleansing in Gaza, and also whether Judaism disagrees or meshes well with Christianity. So here is Vance explaining why the United States backs Israel so aggressively.
when the President of the United States says America first, that means that he pursues the interests of Americans first. That is our entire foreign policy. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have alliances, that you're not going to work with other countries from time to time. And that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them. In that case, sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States. And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the president of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the president of the United States, they're not controlling this president of the United States, which is one of the reasons why we'd be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East.
That is a lie. Now you might be asking which one, because he said so many different things. All of them were lies. Let's start off with the notion that the Trump administration wants to have leverage over Israel. They do have leverage over Israel. They're called bombs. And there's been no break on that car. The Trump administration keeps funneling the bombs over to Israel. When have we ever pushed back against Israel? Now, Jake's gonna mention, the few little shao examples, including getting Netanyahu to apologize to the Qataris after he tried to kill the Hamas negotiators in the middle of peace talks. But the other thing I'll just quickly say, there is no peace deal. What are you talking about? 46 kids got slaughtered in one night by the Israelis after the truce. There's barely even a truce. There's no peace deal. There's barely a ceasefire.
Let's be real. This is where JD Vance's political diplomacy meets brutal reality. The critique is fair. America keeps sending money and weapons while pretending to apply pressure. But the irony? The same critics blasting U.S. hypocrisy ignore the chaos Israel faces daily from groups that literally vow to wipe them out. So yes, both sides are playing politics with blood, and JD's walking a fine line trying to sound moral while staying strategic.
And maybe I'm being unfair, but what do you think, Cenk?
No, of course you're not being unfair, but I think the question was so interesting. The fact that he asked that question shows you how much the politics of this country has changed. And the answer was super interesting. So the question is interesting because here they are at a right-wing conference, at Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA conference, and they're going, what the hell are we allies with Israel for? Oh my God, that's a stunning question. I mean, until 2 years ago, no one would have ever asked that question. You barely get that question in a left-wing conference, let alone at a right-wing conference. Then the religious stuff makes me uncomfortable. But one thing he said that I thought was interesting phrasing, and what you hear from us all the time is, why do we owe Israel? And that question is central. And the fact that it's being asked now everywhere across the political spectrum is enormously important. And Anna, in terms of his answer, look, I go broader than him saying, oh, we've defined Israel from time to time, right? So I think that's true, as Anna previewed. I think that a couple of times cutting them out of the deal we did with the Houthis, with Hamas to get the first American hostage back, etc. So it's a little bit, I mean, on the other hand, Trump then gives them incredible free reign on other things, like, oh, genocide away, oh, you're obviously breaking the ceasefire, I don't care, keep bombing them. So it's a mix, but really the issue is, but what are we getting out of the alliance?
Nothing.
Exactly. That's the uncomfortable question. Billions spent, thousands of lives lost, and no tangible return except constant division at home. Vance's answer, that Israel doesn't control this president, was bold, but it accidentally exposed that every president before might have been. That's a mic drop moment, but not the way he intended.
Right, like, so, and there's two revealing parts of that, Anna. One is him saying, well, we defy them from time to time. Well, I mean, you're kind of telling on yourself. Like, oh, daddy let you defy him once or twice as you were growing up. And then he said, they don't control this president, which kind of implies they were controlling all the other presidents, a thing that a vice president of the United States of America would never admit before. And he's kind of openly admitting it here. Now, the very next layer to it, Anna, is, yes, but what are we getting out of this so-called alliance? And the answer is, of course, zero. Nothing but trouble, hatred, wars, and our treasury being drained.
Yeah, and let me just be clear. Yes, you're right. It is an admission to say this president isn't being controlled by Israel. That implies that all the previous presidents had been controlled by Israel. I think that there was an exception, that was JFK Jr. Do with that information as you, whatever you will. But Donald Trump is very much in the group of presidents that goes along with what Israel is doing, save for a few minor areas in which he pushed back a little bit. But right now, he's still, advertising this so-called peace deal when there is no peace deal. There's no peace deal. There's barely a ceasefire. Israel is still killing people. They just slowed down a little bit in regard to how many Palestinians they're killing each day. Next, JD Vance addressed the audience member's question about Judaism and Christianity. So let's get into that.
Hello, I have a question about Israel and Trump's policy towards it. Do you think it's a conflict of interest for Miriam Adelson, an Israeli donor, to give millions of dollars to his campaign and then Trump have pro-Israeli policies?
Okay, so that question was about corruption in our political system. We'll get to that in a second. But what I wanted to mention about the religion thing is that Vance didn't really address it. So he said nothing, right? And
no, he said something, to be fair to him. He said, look, obviously we don't believe in the same things. We think Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and obviously Jewish folks don't, right? And that's fair. I don't find that to be relevant. Yeah, they're a different religion. So what, right?
Yeah, they are different. That is important to keep in mind. Look,
Yeah.
you guys know I'm not a religious person, but this made up narrative, the Judeo-Christian narrative, is completely made up. Okay, the two religions do conflict with each other. They do not mesh well together. I know, I grew up Christian. Okay, so go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, look, I guess they don't. I know Judeo-Christian thing is made up. I had a rabbi tell me that a while back. He's like, I don't remember the Judeo-Christian heritage in the 1940s, right? Yeah. So anyways, but that's okay. I mean, I would hope that there's Judeo-Christian, Muslim, Hindu, atheist coalition at some point. We don't care about the religions, etc. But he went on to say that the one thing he cares about is the church in Jerusalem. And that was also interesting coded language. And he said, look, that's where Jesus was crucified and where we think he's going to return, and the protection of Christians there is important. Wait, why are we talking about the protection of Christians at this holy church in Jerusalem?
Because that's an admission. That's an admission.
Exactly.
Okay, look, I have now spoken to several different people. They're not public figures, but they follow the news very closely. And when it comes to the topic of Israel, one of their concerns is that eventually, once Israel is done with dealing with the Muslims, that they're going to move on to restricting Christians from accessing holy sites that obviously mean a lot to them, including holy sites in Jerusalem.
So this is why I think Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have not made a little difference. They made a gigantic difference because they've kind of opened the eyes of a lot of the right wing, and that's part of what I call the Great Awakening, right? Because people are beginning to realize, oh, the donors control everything, and not just about Israel, but about all of them. But in the case of Israel, one of the things that the right wing is now so mad about is the treatment of Christians. So look, I wish they were just as mad about the treatment of Muslims, but they're getting there, by the way. Now Tom Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, and Candace in big way talking about, wait, why are we paying for the murder of children? Muslim children, Christian children, etc.
To her credit, she actually went way further than that. I think it was during an interview with Theo Vaughn, if I'm not mistaken, but she was on someone else's podcast. And she's like, I realized I got brainwashed into hating the Muslims. Like, why do I hate the Muslims again?
No, that was super powerful. I gotta be honest, that actually helped me to wake up to the propaganda that has been in this country and why. Yeah. Why has there been overwhelming anti-Muslim propaganda for 40 straight years in this country? And it's unabated. Okay, but the reason why he had that defensive answer is because they've killed Christians in Gaza, because there's a lot of Palestinian Christians. People don't even know about that. Right. They were hiding in a church, hundreds of them, scared to death. And then Israel fired a tank at the church. But on top of that, the church in Jerusalem, that is the holy one that they're talking about, Christians have been spit on going to the church.
Oh yeah.
And that look, that's not all Israelis, but it is some fundamentalists that are doing that.
It's the extremists for sure.
Yeah, it's extremists. But honestly, like all of the settlers are extremists.
Yeah, 100%. The settlers are the most extreme. And so when you see those videos of settlers spitting on Christians in the West Bank, for instance, no, they're not representative of all Israelis. However, it is important to point out that the Israeli government sits idly by and allows it to happen.
Boom. That's where JD's defense starts to crumble, because now it's not just about politics or aid, it's about faith. Christians are seeing their own people suffer, and suddenly the unquestionable alliance doesn't look so holy anymore.
Yeah, and it's getting under the skin of a lot of Christians in America. Because look, guys, can they do something about it? Absolutely. In Turkey, if you bother a tourist by an inch, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. And maybe it's not the right thing to do, etc., but they're gonna beat the living crap out of you, and then they're gonna put you in prison for a long time. Why? Tourism. They're not dumb, right? They want all folks to come to Turkey and enjoy Turkey and never ever be bothered by anyone bothering them, right? Mm-hmm. In Israel, do they care about tourism? Of course, religious tourism is a huge thing. Nevertheless, their government is making almost no effort to stop people from spitting on Christians, which is just kind of rubbing people's face in it.
That guy, Officer Tatum, in an interview was like, you know, I went and visited, and we only got spit on once. Congratulations.
I hope the check cleared, brother. Did they give you an extra $7,000 to spit on you?
He's an embarrassment, man. You are an embarrassment to Christians, seriously.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
So, was JD Vance's response beyond epic? In a way, yes. He stayed calm under fire, spoke logically, and avoided political suicide. all while defending his America First position. But let's not kid ourselves. He walked a tightrope of truth, dodging the landmines of faith, war, and foreign policy with one key phrase: sometimes interests align. The real story here isn't just JD Vance's answer, it's the cultural shift happening before our eyes. The right is waking up, questioning everything. And that's exactly why this clip hits so hard. If you're still watching, you're exactly the kind of viewer this channel is built for. Hit subscribe, smash that bell, and join a community that breaks down politics with truth, boldness, and zero filters. Because this is just the beginning.